Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Our Health's Lunchtime Live. My name is Amber Van Kirk of Our Health's marketing team, and I am joined today by Dr. Julia Snyder of Our Health Cherry Hill. Welcome, Dr. Snyder.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So before we get started, I just wanted to take a very brief moment and tell you a little bit about Our Health. So Our Health provides access to a personal doctor on demand. And if you have New Jersey state or school health benefits, you have access to Our Health at no additional cost and no copays. You will see our website and phone number scrolling at the bottom of your screen. So you can visit our website or call us at the phone number at any time to learn more or to claim your spot with Our Health. Also, just one reminder, if you have any questions for Dr. Snyder, please feel free to post them in the comments. We're happy to answer them. We want this to be engaging. And we're going to start with Dr. Snyder today talking about sleep, light exposure, and screen time, three really important topics. So Dr. Snyder, thanks again for joining us. And let's start with talking about sleep. So everyone knows, I think anyway, that sleep is essential for your health, but there's a difference between just getting sleep and getting quality. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Sleep is so essential, in fact, for our health, for our life, actually. They've done studies where they've deprived rats, probably not ethically, able to be repeated right now, but sleep deprived rats, and they die. They actually die in the same time that you would deprive them of food. So sleep is absolutely essential for our health and our life. And so it affects every system in our bodies and brains. It's is so important for our immune function, our reproductive function, our memories. And, we kind of know this intuitively, but we're not always paying attention. So, a sleep tracker may help us understand a little bit more about what quality sleep looks like precisely. If you break that down, sleep experts say the healthiest people get about 20 to 25% REM sleep. And REM sleep is that rapid eye movement sleep where you're really consolidating memories. It's actually one of the most important stages of sleep. And then about 45 to 50% of light stage sleep and 25 to 30% deep sleep. So if you have a fancy sleep tracker, those are the numbers you're looking for quality sleep. However, we don't all have them, but if you are an engineer or want to look at that more, you certainly get one. But generally, looking at what quality sleep looks like, you've stayed in bed, you've slept, you feel rested in the morning, you feel rested and refreshed. And so, that's really what we're looking for. The question, is, are we being honest with ourselves? Are we feeling refreshed? And I think,
do we even know what refreshed feels like sometimes? Like, if you're sort of used to running and functioning at sort of a non-ideal level, right?
Right. Well, and what else do we do to kind of do that? Is we wake up in the morning, we have our coffee, so we can kind of be using crutches to feel that as well.
So to get to that quality sleep, how much time does an average person need? And I know that probably varies depending on, specific, but just on average, what should we be getting?
Sleep experts have determined based on averages that it is something very specific, like 8 hours and 13 minutes.
Oh, wow. That is very specific.
They also have, polled people, and, unfortunately, the world is in a kind of sleep deprived epidemic. In the past 100 years, our sleep, when they've just, again, based on polling, has gone from 7.9 hours 100 years ago to 6.5 hours on average.
That's a big decrease.
It's a huge decrease. Imagine, if that was the case of, we got 20% less water, 20% less food, over the 100 years, what would that do to our health? And so I think, this is definitely something that we should be thinking about when we think about our health.
Yeah.
Culturally, we're not always thinking about it though.
Yeah. So, that's a huge decrease. So, there has to be side effects to that. So what are some of those main side effects?
Yeah. So in the long run, we have correlational studies that tell us that unfortunately, less than 7 hours of sleep on average per night puts us at risk for cancer,
Mhm.
puts us at risk for dementia, and other chronic diseases, unfortunately as well. Um, we've all experienced what one night of no sleep has looked like,
Mhm.
for various reasons. And so in that short run, it affects our motor skills, our cognitive skills, speed and sharpness, and our emotional regulation as well. We've all experienced, especially if you have kids, the
Mhm.
parent, your kids miss your nap and you have that, meltdown
Yeah.
because, and for grown-ups too, sleep is actually a predictor of our relationship. So they've done studies where, better sleep actually indicates better quality marriage, less arguments. So, sleep is important for our health and for our social emotional
Yeah.
well-being as well.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think I've witnessed that myself with my kids, and it's probably just a different version of that meltdown with adults, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and Amber, when I was a resident, the big thing that we talked about was the studies that came out that said, where after that 36-hour shift, we've been up all
Mhm.
night driving home. It's like we have the blood alcohol level that would get us a DUI.
Wow, that is very crazy, and that's very scary to think about. So
Yeah.
another aspect that really can impact our sleep, and I know this is becoming more and more of a challenge now, is light exposure. So what role does light exposure play with sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, imagine, that sleep and our bodies, mammals have been here on planet Earth for quite some time,
Mhm.
and we've only had artificial lights for a very short time. And that sun exposure would be the thing that set our circadian rhythm.
Mhm.
That sun exposure during the day helps influence our serotonin production. That feel good chemical makes us feel alert.
Mhm.
And that serotonin structure is actually very similar to another molecule we know the name of called melatonin. And
Mhm.
melatonin is actually what tells our body that we should get ready for sleep. And that is only produced in darkness.
Mhm.
And we, just as we're in sleep deprivation, we're also in darkness deprivation,
Mhm.
in comparison to, you know, 500 years ago or, before, we
There's
had
just
really
lights all around us everywhere.
it's all around us everywhere. And unfortunately, the lights that we have now from our screens, from LED light bulbs, have a more of a spectrum than the
Mhm.
incandescent light bulbs that we had even 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Um, of blue light, green light, and purple light that are even more stimulating to confuse our brains that it's daytime. That those spectrum of light are really only emitted by the sun in the bright light of the day. So imagine you're getting ready for bed and you turn on that bathroom light and it's got the big bright lights because
Mhm.
you're usually using it to do whatever you need to
Brush your
do.
teeth or whatever.
Right, exactly. And so and you're all of a sudden your brain's confused. You're like, wait, maybe it's daytime,
Mhm.
the light's on. And so it can really disturb our circadian rhythm that way. Um, I think one of the things that really drives home this point is there was a study they looked at people who read on an iPad for an
Mhm.
hour before bed, or people who read in a regular book in like
Mhm.
dim lighting, so without kind of an LED bright book light,
Mhm.
but just your regular dimmer lighting. And the people that read on the iPad, um, not only were they found to have 50% less melatonin production,
Wow.
they were also had decreased quality of sleep with a lot decreased REM sleep. And REM sleep, as we said, is one of the most important
Mhm.
parts of our sleep. And that effect lasted that night and two more nights.
Wow, that is very crazy. So it's really important that we really try to balance that. So, we're talking a lot about these challenges, but what can we do? So what are some things that we can do to avoid that light exposure and those the downsides of that, the side effects of that, before bedtime. Or I guess really not even before bedtime, maybe, maybe even throughout the day.
No, so throughout the day, maybe, not as big a deal. Although, depending on how much you're staring at a screen, you might decide you want to, if it's causing eye strain, that's a little bit different. But really, it's about an hour or two before bed.
Okay.
And even if you can get in a half hour, it's better.
Well, I think
do are dimming down the lights.
Okay.
So if you have dimmer switches, use them. If you can switch out, especially in your bathroom or bedroom, your LED light bulbs for warmer lights. I know people that have even switched out for red light. If you can deal with that, okay, that may be really helpful.
Okay.
And reading. Reading, instead of from a regular book, saving that time to do chores. It's a great time to maybe do dishes or fold laundry or, do something that doesn't require, bright lights that, that can be stimulating and stuff you have to get done anyway. So you
do it right before bedtime.
Kind of a way to wind. But, I brought something to show you.
I'm excited.
So just
show and tell.
Give me a little show and tell here. So these are two of my favorite things. So this is my eye mask.
Wow, that's very neat.
And so this is so important for creating the darkness that we need while we're sleeping. So if you have room darkening shades, that also will help. If you don't, then something like this will keep the light out of your room so that you can continue to make that melatonin all night long and keep you in a deeper sleep. The other thing, if you don't have the capacity to dim your lights or put in those special red light bulbs. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, that even if this is, the only thing you can do, it certainly may not be everything, but it can only help, is to use your nightlight mode on your screens. If you have to use your screen. Okay. Turn on the nightlight mode so that you're getting that warmer, richer color and backing down on some of the blue light that's emitted.
That's a great advice, because I think for some people, myself included, I'm sorry, I'm guilty of this, is, it's sort of the time to catch up on some news or just things like that. So it's, if we're saying it's a hard step to fully give that up, maybe there's making a smaller change.
That's why I want to show you my next favorite thing. So did you ever want to be the superhero Falcon? Because if you did, these
I would
are
love
the best
that.
Okay, so these glasses, you can see if I hold them up, see how they're red?
They're basically red light, right?
Red light. So they, and you can see them from the side and see they have foam here. So they're almost like goggles. And so they prevent the light from coming through on the sides, not like regular glasses where the light would come through the sides.
Okay.
So these glasses, or glasses like them, block blue light, purple light, and green light. So you allow you to be in those light setting where you're still looking at screens, or maybe your family member needs to have the bright lights on, and you can still not have that affect your sleep and your melatonin production.
And where can we find something like that?
So I have found something like this on Amazon.
Okay.
You can buy everything there, I guess.
Yes.
But definitely online. I know some eye doctors may sell them as well.
Okay, so like searching for red light glasses, is that what?
Yeah, actually, so you want to make sure there's two kinds of blue light blocking glasses. There's the kind that a lot of people have seen, which are just regular clear lenses that reflect blue light, and that's great for staring at your computer screen, but it's not necessarily going to help with sleep.
Okay.
And these often are called like sundown glasses, or something along those.
Okay, great. I never even knew something like that existed. So I'm learning something new today too.
And they basically create an artificial dusk. Remember that, as the sun goes down, the color of the sky is that orangey, reddy color. So those are the colors that our body is used to seeing, as preparing us for sleep. The sun went down, we went to bed, long time ago when we didn't have artificial lights and all the other, screens and paying attention to things. So that's exactly what these do, is that they create that artificial dusk for yourself.
Great. So I know we're talking about light exposure, and this is probably, interconnected, but also, screen time. So, how much screen time is appropriate, throughout the day, before bedtime, et cetera. And, how do we really, limit that to help us relax, to prepare for bedtime, and good sleep?
Oh, Amber, this is a really hard question to answer right
It is.
now.
Yeah.
Right now, when so many of us, need to use our screens to get our work done. So
And even our children right now, with school, I mean, there's so much screen time right now.
yeah. So I would say, that if you using, so, and this is kind of, I'll go back to what the American Academy of Pediatrics says in terms of what they say about kids too, is basically they want kids to limit their screen time to less than 2 hours a day that don't have to do with academic work.
Okay.
It depends on, um, how much that ends up being. Right now, that academic work could be 8 hours a day and 10 hours a day of
Significant.
screen time.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can add up really quickly. And that, in an ideal world, that's probably not great for us. We, from the standpoint of, our vision, we need to look at different distances, across the room. From the standpoint of our physical health, being able to be up, moving and active, being in front of a screen doesn't really allow us time for that. And I think that's a lot of where the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations come from. And then also, it's a lot of time that we are exposed to EMF radiation as well, which also can impact our sleep, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay. We'll save that for our next live. So we really should, I mean, in the best that we can in today's really imperfect world, try to limit that to the best of our abilities still.
Yeah, I think, my thought would be, if if you really need to use your screen for work or for school, make sure you're setting aside time, that your free time is something not screen time. That's the goal I set for my kids.
Okay.
They at least, that they have
Yeah.
their schoolwork that's screen time, and then they have to do non-screen time activities.
So lunch and recess should not be watching a show in front of a screen. Good advice.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did have a question come in that I want to share with you. I'm sort of taking us on a slightly different topic. But the question is wondering about causes of sleepless nights during pregnancy. So another important topic. I know, really sort of what causes that.
Well, so you're right. Light is not the only issue that can affect our sleep quality. Hormones also can affect our sleep quality. So the shifting hormones may likely be the issue there.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
there anything that can be done to help get better quality sleep, during that
Yeah,
time?
so good question. So I think sleep is also one of those stackable things. So kind of like stress, you might be able to tolerate this much, but then, this other thing on top,
Yeah.
kind of throws you over. So sleep is similar. So so we can't control the hormones during pregnancy so much because they're necessary. But we may be able to work on some of these other aspects, like the light, or like a chance to wind down, managing stress, maybe even doing some activities before bed that are calming, some guided imagery, yoga, gentle stretching, or maybe that's just reading a kind of boring but soothing book, or one of my favorites, also taking a Epsom salt bath. So that actually does two things. One is that the magnesium in the Epsom salt actually comes through. We absorb some through our skin, and the magnesium has a calming effect. So that helps us settle down. Of course, the warmth always has a calming effect.
Of course. Yeah.
And then in order for our bodies to actually have deep sleep, our core body temperature needs to cool down by 2 degrees. And so if we have this warming effect about an hour before bed, we have a natural responsive cooling effect
Okay.
about an hour later. And so that's going to ready our body for sleep just by having that cooling effect as well.
Okay. That is great advice. Another question that I wanted to ask is, you've spoken a lot about melatonin and the importance of that. A lot of people try to supplement that, might be trying to supplement that, if it's not working naturally. Any thoughts or advice? Is that a good solution, a bad solution? There's sort of all these things out there if we're not getting good sleep to help us get there.
Yeah, so I certainly don't have a problem with most people using melatonin. I think melatonin has its benefits as well as an antioxidant. It's great for immune health. I don't know if you've been hearing about the benefits of melatonin as it pertains to COVID-19 infections,
No,
but there's
no.
definitely some data out there on that as well. So, if people want to use melatonin, generally it's very safe. It can have some hangover effects for people, depending on the dosing that they're using. So I would, advise starting at a low dose, especially for women, starting at 1 milligram or less. And for
Okay.
men, maybe a little bit more, 3 milligrams or less, and then work your way up if you do think you need more. A physiologic dose of melatonin is about 0.3 milligrams.
Oh,
So you
wow.
can
Okay.
imagine if you're getting 10 milligrams of melatonin, that's a really a
That's a high dose.
pharmaceutical
Yeah.
dose of melatonin. Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about sleep and, light exposure, screen time. Is there anything else that we should be considering when we're looking at, ways that we can get, get that quality night's sleep?
So, I think that, setting the stage is really important. We did talk a little bit about this, but, and that includes, the things that we've talked about in terms of dimming down the lights, creating that artificial dusk, allowing time for your body to wind down. We're not a computer power off switch. So allowing that time and space for yourself, setting the stage in terms of temperature, making sure that it's a comfortable sleeping temperature, which is a low temperature. Remember, I said our body needs to drop.
So what is that? What is that ideal temperature?
I would go with 65 degrees if you could do it.
Okay.
The other thing that's really interesting is that warming the hands and the feet. So even though the core body, so that helps to coax the blood flow out of the core. So that also will help you drop your body temperature. So I actually am a big fan of those packs you put in the microwave, and they have like beans or buckwheat in them. You know what I'm talking about? And heating that up, putting those at my feet before bed, so that they no risk of burning or anything like that, like you get from an electric heating pad, because the heat dissipates overnight, but you fall asleep, it pulls the heat out, and helps you sleep that way as well.
That's a great tip, especially as we're starting to get into these cooler weather.
Absolutely. And then also, setting the stage from a darkness standpoint, as we talked about, making sure your room is dark. Try to, wean off those night lights, or, wear an eye mask if you just really can't get the room dark, because that melatonin production will increase for you that way. Making sure that you have a comfortable bed, so that if you're waking up in pain, that's no good either. Or if you have a bed partner who's snoring or kicking you, you might think about what other ways you can manage that.
Solving that problem.
A king size bed, or but and then let's see, the other thing that you might think about is, from a setting the stage standpoint, is relaxation techniques. And so going back to that winding down, if there's prayer, if there's a meditation, if there's just gratitude practice, so that those are the thoughts that you're going through your head when you're going to sleep.
So it sounds like just ways mentally, various techniques mentally and physically to prepare our bodies to enter that ideal sleep state. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then, you know what, I didn't mention this, I probably should mention it specifically, is, making sure that you're not doing other things in bed. So
Mhm.
your bed, we're very Pavlovian response,
Yeah.
and so if we have that response of we get in bed and our bed is our calm, cozy sanctuary where we fall asleep, then that's probably what we're going to
Mhm.
do there. But if we've gotten used to reading in bed or watching TV in bed or doing other things,
Mhm.
then our worrying in bed,
Mhm.
um, then our bodies can, notice that, and that will
Mhm.
be our response when we get in bed. So, if that's happening to you, I would say, get out of bed, go find another quiet place to
Okay.
kind of calm down, and then when you're feeling sleepy, get back in bed again.
Okay. Great advice. So, one final question for you before we wrap up. What, as a primary care doctor, do you do for your patients to help them get this quality sleep? So what can people come to you for?
So, obviously, I love to talk people to people about their sleep. One of the things that I did want to mention, if you're still having trouble, you're doing all of these things right,
Mhm.
you're still feeling tired, you're still having trouble with your sleep, then you definitely should talk to your
Yeah.
doctor about your sleep, because it may be other things going on that are causing you to have interruptions in your sleep. Things like sleep apnea, where your
Mhm.
body stops breathing, or maybe restless leg syndrome, where your legs are kicking and you're not getting good quality
Mhm.
sleep. And so those types of things really should be investigated even more
Yeah.
from a medical standpoint. But even from a primary care standpoint, just talking to people about their how important sleep is,
Mhm.
um, and letting them know that it really is an important health issue, just like we talk about
Yeah.
food and exercise. Sleep should be on that list of things that we really should be focusing on for our
Yeah,
health.
and I think it's something that's very easy to overlook
It,
in
it
our
sure
busy
is.
lives to say, I don't need that much sleep, but it really does come down to having a huge impact on our health.
It sure does. And I think it's not just the word isn't out on sleep yet.
Yeah. So is that sort of the final tip, final piece of advice before we wrap up? If there's one thing people should be thinking about when it comes to sleep, it is
Make time for it.
so make that time to get sleep.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Snyder. This has been so informative. I know I learned many new things. I'm going to be looking at those glasses when we hang up because I think that's great advice. Um, just a reminder, again, if you're interested in learning more about our health, visit our website, give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you about sleep and anything else that really, that impacts your health. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for our Lunchtime Live. Thank you, Dr. Snyder, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.